In late April, Afghan women gathered in Washington to petition the U.S. Congress.
Hey guys, we're going!
Which is where these women then served as well.
In attendance, there were soldiers from Women's Unit organized by the U.S. military in Afghanistan.
It's very hard for us to talk about hope. We had hope in our country. We had dreams, but we lost them all. And we always worry about family.
Afghanistan Female Tactical Platoon (FTP) participated in over 2,000 operations. They were deployed to the front line of counter-terrorism cleanup operations.
Her husband is killed to this mission, and I'm very sad to three wife is all pregnant. I'm thinking all time with myself why they are fight together.
In August 2021, U.S. forces completely withdrew from Afghanistan. The armed Taliban seized power and over 80,000 people fled to the USA. In such a situation, it was the women of FTP who were targeted as traitors. Rebecca Edmondson, a former U.S. soldier, is now rescuing these women. Deployed to Afghanistan, she worked alongside the FTP in a terrorist cleanup operation.
Yeah, I still had plates that went inside of my... They're not exactly light.
At one point, Rebecca faced serious trauma from her time on the battlefield.
I can't imagine a life without supporting these women today. I see it as such a privilege to be in their lives, to encourage them however I may.
And when I heard your story, when you described it, you went to Afghanistan, when you came back, how you missed them. So when I met you, when you described, and now you're saying that No One Left Behind is, the whole team is working on this.
Yeah.
And they're trying to bring people that their lives in danger. So now somehow I feel like, oh yes, you're not alone.
Former soldiers helping the Afghan people. We will explore the experience of women soldiers in Afghanistan and the US as they confront the deep scars left by the war on terror. Rebecca Edmondson deployed to Afghanistan on 4 occasions.
I am going to see my lovely friend, Aziz Kul. I haven't seen her in, about 6 months, I think.
On this day, she visited a flat where female Afghan soldiers live.
Hello! Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, how are you?
Aziz used to take part in operation together with Rebecca.
We're not good actors.
Yeah, good to see you.
I love you. Just the ladies taking a break after we did a walk with all of our gear on.
Yeah.
And this one.
Oh, this is mine. I'm very relaxed.
Aziz was a soldier in a women-only unit called FTP.
They were essentially an asset to both the Afghan military and the United States military. Every mission we went on was dangerous. Yeah.
The deployment of US troops to Afghanistan was triggered by the terrorist attack on September 12, 2001. The US launched its attack on Afghanistan, claiming the Taliban regime is harboring terrorists. Rebecca was 30 when she was deployed to Afghanistan.
When I joined the Army, and it was mainly to find some direction in my life. I really wanted to find a bigger purpose than myself.
Rebecca was posted to the Cultural Support Unit, CST, which was made up of female soldiers. The mission was to gather information from women and children to maintain security in Afghanistan. In a segregated Islamic society, where men and women are kept apart, gathering information from female residents was difficult, leading to recurrent incidents of terrorists escaping in border areas. It was difficult to investigate if weapons were hidden in women's rooms.
When it was first identified that it was necessary to have female operators on the ground speaking to Afghan women, because obviously they speak the language, they understand the culture, and a lot of other reasons why they're more effective in that role.
This is how Afghan Women's Unit, FDP, was organized. This is an FDP recruitment video produced by the US Department of Defense.
ما به طبقه اونا ضرورت داریم که تا بتونیم به خانم‌ها و اطفالی که در جریان عملیات شبانه ماموریم.
They recruited women aiming for self-independence, including government officials.
اونا میتونن بیاین و ما میتونیم در هر عرصه اونا رو کمک کنیم، در عرصه تعلیمات، در عرصه وظیفه.
Aziz, who made decision to join the FDP. At the age of 11, she was married to a man who was older than her.
و او شوهرم قبلا هم یک خانم داشتن که خانمش تا 6 طفل دیگه هم داشته. شوهر ما را رد میکرد، پدر شوهر ما را رد میکرد، یا فامیل شوهر ما را رد میکرد. ما با می قدر مشکلات را مسئولیت کردم که ما حاضر به خودکشی بودم و هیچ فکری نمیکردم که ما دیگه زندگی دارم. ما اصلا هیچ فکری یعنی هنوز ما فراموش نکردیم و با می سوال پیش ما هست که چرا میشده که سوال تا آخر خاط مانده و هیچ وقت فراموش هم نخواهد شد. دیگه وقتی که ما فیلم های اکشن میدیدیم، وقتی که یونیفرم نظامی را ما در جان خانم‌ها که میدیدیم با آدمای بد بسیار میجنگه و ما بسیار هیجان زده میشدیم. این بسیار خوب است و ما میتونیم این کار را بکنم. دشمنای خود بجنگن و عمق قسم با سر بلند استاد باشن.
After her divorce, Aziz enlisted in the FDP at the age of 19. The FDP, Afghan Women's Tactical Platoon, was formed in 2011. Approximately 120 women were recruited. The FDP conducted interviews with women and children and verified aspects such as weapon possession. Based on the critical information obtained, special forces proceeded to investigate and apprehend the terrorists.
the Taliban is take to some important information to the woman. He's good or bad. Yeah, we are asked to the woman because sometimes the Taliban is the man is lie for everybody, and the woman is told to correct.
Many women who enlisted with hope openly experienced the pain associated with being women.
So I think on the FTP side, there was a lot more harassment with regard to how religion ties into their culture. Would often get harassed when, if they were running and their headscarf fell down. Men driving by would yell at them and call them whores and things like that. Or if they were running and their breasts were jumping around the place. And so, she showed up, she was in the middle of training, and the day that we decided to take the pregnancy tests, hers turns out positive, and she wasn't married, and, whatever the abuse had resulted in her becoming pregnant. Two very difficult realities. One, the rape in of itself, and then second, that it was going to prevent her from entering the unit. I put together what I felt was a culturally mindful presentation and asked the leadership of the Katejas to come join us with the FTPs.
Rebecca conducted seminars and persistently advocated that harassment not only harms those involved, but also diminishes the effectiveness of mixed-gender units. Gradually, male soldiers began to show respect to Rebecca and the FTP. At this time, Taliban attacks and bombings were frequent throughout Afghanistan. Terrorists are increasingly mixing into civilians' homes in mountainous areas. Rebecca was also deployed with special forces in the cleanup operation.
I still had plates that went inside of my so one goes in front, one goes in back, and two go on the side. My super heavy helmet, battery pack. This is where your night vision gets mounted on.
One night, while conducting an investigation at a house suspected of harboring terrorists,
Father, the eldest man in the compound, came to the door and initially, had both of his hands up. But shortly thereafter, his wife ran up behind him and handed him a rifle, to protect himself. And in that exchange of her passing a weapon to him caused, someone took that as a reason to escalate and to eliminate a threat. And he was shot in the head, so it was like an immediate fall to the ground. He was dead on, right there, and his wife was hovering over his body, and wife and all of his children and his mother, and they were just, wailing and crying and also directing a lot of anger at me in particular, because I was sort of the representative of, you know, they could see my face, feeling of, you know, these people had nothing to do with anything. And so an innocent man's life was taken, and he was killed right in front of his wife and kids. And so then I was expected to talk to them and find out more information about this and that. You know, through my interpreter there, you know, he didn't want to even tell me the things that they were saying, you know, cursing me and saying that you know, that I had killed their father, and, you know, undoubtedly an innocent person's life was taken, and I basically was on the receiving end of all of that sadness and despair and anger, and seeing all of his children's faces. And, you know, I guess that those, you know, impressions were kind of burned in my mind. Even in that moment, you know, it's just something that's hard to forget.
Nothing was found in the home of the man who was shot dead, and his family had no connection to the terrorists. At the same time, FDP soldiers were shot. Rebecca was honorably discharged from the army in 2016, and she became conflicted about putting these women in danger. After returning home, headaches and insomnia persisted, and emotional disturbance became more frequent.
Dreams of experiences mixed experiences that I had in Afghanistan, seeing people's, you know, dead faces, and so when I would first, you know, open my eyes and wake up, I would have this pit in my stomach feeling of like, oh my God, this could be my last day on earth. And I just stayed pretty much angry all the time, and I would become disrupted with anger over the smallest things. And when that would happen, then I would end up feeling embarrassed of the way that I behaved, out of control. And so in order to kind of push that down, I would, have a glass of wine or 2 or 3 or, however many drinks. There's a lot of things I was trying to forget about. And, alcohol was at least momentarily helping me to do that, but then it had, came with its own set of consequences as well. Ended up behind bars for picking a fight with police officers. So, yep, I had the cuffs put on me and placed in a cell overnight, and that was definitely a low point for me. I felt like that instance, to all of a sudden have an arrest record, a sense of pride for having the opportunity to go and defend my country and fight for basic human rights in Afghanistan. And that pride had kind of dissolved over time, and in its place was left just a lot of guilt.
Many soldiers returning from Afghanistan and Iraq are reported to experience feelings of guilt. In recent years, this state of mind has been referred to as moral injustice or moral injury. It is said to have the potential to trigger suicide and self-harm. According to a study by Brown University, in conflicts since September 2001, Suicides among active and retired military personnel have been more than 4 times higher than those killed in action. The US government has recently focused on combating moral injustice.
We find a higher rate of individuals who are suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder. They are also experiencing moral injury. They were not able to stop or prevent whatever atrocity they were involved with, trauma or atrocity that goes against their moral compass or what they believe morally. They feel guilty for still being alive. They may develop depression and anxiety from it.
A situation that further deepened the emotional trauma of returning soldiers with moral injustice occurred.
Last night in Kabul, the United States ended 20 years of war in Afghanistan, the longest war in American history.
In August 2021, US troops withdrew from Afghanistan. A military campaign which mobilized 800,000 soldiers and lasted 20 years in the name of the war on terror has ended. The armed Taliban quickly seized power. The airport was in chaos as people tried to flee the country to escape the Taliban rule. The sight, featured daily on the news, triggered the emotional pain of many returning soldiers. Mariah Smith, who was deployed to Afghanistan on 3 occasions, was one such returnee. She had been involved in an investigation related to terrorism and explosives. She had experienced mental health issues which worsened upon learning about the withdrawal.
But I can't move my body at all, and it is gives me a feeling of intense panic. I had this voice in my head that would say these mean things to myself, and I would hear a voice that would be like, "Oh, you're a terrible person," or like, "Oh, like you're stupid. Why do you do this? You're a bad person." So many Afghan soldiers and citizens were lost. So many U.S. soldiers were lost. So many of our allied partners, lost their lives. Intense period of questioning and disappointment, and reckoning for why did we spend 20 years on that, but what is the outcome? What is the meaning if it is all undone after all that time, after all that loss, all that energy, all that money, all that pain, all that time. And I do feel a horrible sense of loss.
To seek relief from her heartache, she began focusing her efforts on helping the people of Afghanistan. On this day, she and her friends came to the airport to pick up the displaced people.
Public TV. Yay! Yay!
How are you?
This man used to work as an interpreter for the US military.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's
You bet.
We have been working with the U.S. government, so it's more difficult for us. In the last 2 years, I couldn't go out freely.
both his resettlement benefits start to end, and then also with things like employment. We've got partner networks, as you.
Great.
He has been patiently waiting for his visa to be approved for over a year and a half. The US government issued special immigration visas to interpreters and staffs employed for more than 1 year to protect them from the Taliban threats. No One Left Behind is an NGO dedicated to rescuing those individuals and assisting them in resettling in the USA. Its name is No One Left Behind. Around 14 returned soldiers have participated, providing assistance to more than 20,000 people so far.
And now these people are getting in a really, really tough situation because they lost their job and they even cannot provide.
Yeah. These people are in hiding, they're moving every other day to a different location. They're being chased, they're being captured, they're being questioned. And they're hungry.
Yeah,
They're hungry.
They're hungry. And the reason I named this No One Left Behind, because still we are trying hard to bring as many people as we can. We still have more than 60,000 applicants, SIV applicants in Afghanistan with their families. There are more than about 200,000 people in Afghanistan who served with us, and they need to be here because they stood with us shoulder to shoulder when we needed them in Afghanistan. And now it's our turn to bring them to safety, save their lives.
No One Left Behind has helped many Afghans flee to the United States after their lives were threatened. The organization receives SOS from Afghan people living in the US every day and is committed to helping them settle down, including furniture and housing. Araya and her colleagues express a desire for a swift rescue of those left behind in Afghanistan. They stay in frequent contact with the individuals managing the visa applications and evacuation procedures.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I've got some great news.
Ooh, tell me.
So one of my female armed security guards, she finally got her chief of mission approval.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still in Afghanistan, right? They haven't moved to Pakistan?
That's correct. Yeah, she's still in Afghanistan. There's several dozen of these types of specialty cases that I track, but I know it affects thousands, right?
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of DoD.
The fellow group member, Katerina Gasper, is also a returning veteran from Afghanistan. Having served in the military for 24 years, Katerina sustained severe brain damage in the Taliban bombing, forcing her to return home. She had served alongside Afghan interpreters and staff during missions, making a promise to them to come back to help. Now she dedicates much of her day to the visa application procedures.
I have files and files of families left behind like that. This guy's case is refused. His case can't get employment verified. Where I feel numb. Some days I'm at the point where I feel angry.
Katerina returned home after retiring from the military, but she has been suffering from the after effects of her injuries and severe PTSD.
If my husband suddenly claps really loud, I'm very triggered by that. Even my kids are coming up to me like this. It's just very
makes me feel a lot of very anxious and say things like, we held the beast at bay for 20 years in the war on terror and kept it out of the homeland, and that's what it was for. But it felt like cutting and running. And it's not about like which administration messed it up. The last one had the faulty plan, and this one executed the plan, the wrong way. It's not about that. It's not about. I help Afghan allies because I too am left behind in Afghanistan. And the only way that I will ever not be in Afghanistan is to help them.
On this day, Mariah visited a woman who was evacuated immediately after the withdrawal.
Hi, I'm Mariah.
Shamin was employed at the U.S. Embassy. She left her family behind and fled alone on a special immigrant visa. However, government assistance ended after 3 months.
Each day off with this, just thinking that, I will be homeless. I will not find a job. What should I do? If I am not able to send them money. And they are 5 people and they are totally dependent on me. And sometimes I really feel guilty that I didn't take that risk. What I did, I just left him behind. And I came alone with myself.
I feel that I share a little bit of your guilt because I feel so terrible about what happened to Afghanistan and all the things that you're describing. But I know that I feel guilt every day because it is very hard, somewhat like you've described, like knowing like we're here, we're okay, and there's so many people that need our help. My hope is that that me, our organization, others can be in touch with you for. It was really good to see you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk soon.
Displaced people fleeing Afghanistan were also tormented by the guilt of leaving their family behind. Rebecca is also trying to address the emotional trauma of former female soldiers in Afghanistan. She organized the event to bring the voice of former FDP women to a broad audience, especially at a time when interest in Afghanistan is diminishing.
But I just want to say to all of you ladies how incredibly proud I am of all of you. I know it's not easy to do what you're doing on a daily basis, but to sit here and share some very, very personal.
Former female soldiers also share their experiences and their emotions.
Experience public speaking, if that wasn't obvious.
Almost 2 years with a heart full of sadness, I started a journey that I had never seen before. My heart broke when my father said goodbye to me. I was sitting inside the plane. I was crying and thinking, my country, I'm thinking.
Lavina was once a female soldier who bravely took on dangerous operations. Rebecca was concerned that Lavina was now suffering from the psychological distress.
I'm so sorry.
Shortly before Lavina was evacuated to the USA, she lost her best friend, who was also a soldier in the FDP.
She's murdered before 10 days before fall of Kabul. The day we want to see each other, and she died. And I just saw her. The last time when I saw her, it was her body on the of her head. They like he hit with something dangerous because it was a hole behind of her head. Yeah.
Mahabeen, a close friend who fought alongside her, was killed by those who saw the FDP as hostile shortly before she was evacuated. And Lavina's family received threatening letters from the Taliban. You are part of a foreign military operation. We have been instructed to approach your friends and family members. We will make an example of what happens to those who go against us. After that, Lavina fled to the USA alone, leaving her parents and siblings behind. Now she fears her family's safety. Following the takeover, the Taliban declared amnesty for the club leaders with the US and others, stating that there will be no retaliations. However, UN agency and others have stated that extrajudicial killings are being carried out against these people. Ever since taking refuge in the USA, Lavina has had psychological distress.
And do you feel like dizzy and foggy and most of the time confused and feel sad and the explosion and finding target and shooting. I think all of them was too much for our mental health. The problem we have now because of, like sometimes I feel so bad. I feel so sad, and nothing is in my control.
Rebecca tries to listen to them as much as possible, ensuring that former FDP soldiers do not have to navigate through emotional trauma alone.
Oh, salam. Walaikum salam.
On this day, she visited a former soldier named Sasha. She belongs to the Hazara ethnic group, a minority in Afghanistan. Sasha was also becoming increasingly anxious about the family she had left behind.
مثلا بگو که اول خانواده خودم مثلا مادرم همراه نوسای دختری خود که اردیش دختر است نه که دختر است میگم به خاطر که زیر تهدید است من اونا فامیلش پیش مادر مانده اونا تنها است. من مطمئن هستم که او معلومات و او اسنادات دست طالبا افتاده بعد از برآمدن ما و من مطمئن هستم شدیدا اونا زیر خطر هستند.
The FTPs that are still in Afghanistan. I also feel very scared for the girls that are still in Afghanistan, and I
با بعضیش ما حتی ارتباط دارم که میگه هر روز من میترسم کاش ما کارهای ما در آمریکا یا کارهای ما چون شد ما از این کشور براییم به بدترین نوش هم مثلا از بین میبره میکشه و هم شاید مثلا تجاوز جنسی سرش کنه. یعنی هر خیانتی که از دست از اونا مثلا میآید کزین که تقریبا کزین ما گفته میشه او را در پیش خود برده بود بندی کرده بود با هیچ 6 ماه بندی کرده با هیچ گناهی هم نداشت. با بسیار وضعیت خراب کشته بود که این قسمت هایش قسمت پوشش سوختانده بود. میگیم به خاطر که جرم ما این نیست که ما هزاره هستیم. هزاره بودن در افغانستان جرم است.
In the female soldiers of the FDP, there are quite a few Hazara women similar to Sasha. The Hazara belongs to the Shia sect of Islam and have been faced persecution as apostates by the Sunni majority, including the massacre in the 1990s. They have also been targeted by the emerging militant group IS over the past 2 years, putting them in dangerous situations. Sasha and her 3 sisters have fled to the US, and every night they call her mother, who still remains in Afghanistan, to check on her safety. Frightened.
وان دیگه از کجا و کیر بود خبر شدید نشدید و اینی نه کم وقت خبر ندم که چیز اون مورد دست خاطر یک همسایه‌اش که دولت پیشین بود اون مورد کم وقت بود دونه تنهای خم هستم بخی دل من قدر تنگ شد باشه واقعا نمک شو که تا نیسبای شو خو نمورم دل پارم شمارم اینجی
در لوگا دیگه از دانشم قدید کس بور نشه سای کارمار هم تا کس نگن که خدای نخواسته مردم شیطان شده مردم بد شده در مقابل یگان پیسه چیزا خدای نخواسته کدام رو پر ندید
دولتی شد پاک بور کدوم اونجا پرتا کدوم چند منی چند شد درد داد
خیره تو زیاد ترس نخور خیره دیگه ما کوشش کنیم به خیر یک راه پیدا ان شاء الله خداوند یک راه پیدا کنه متوجه خود هم باش دیگه اون اردو دخترم نه که زیاد برین باشه.
Rebecca teams up with the returning veterans once they brought together to support former FTP members facing diverse anxieties. Rebecca and others are working tirelessly to help former FTP members to fit in fine with the local community. The NGO in the town of Blacksburg hosted party for the FTP.
In Afghanistan, served our country in the military in a very specialized unit, very specifically trained, well-trained, and we served with distinction. We're heroes. We're really lucky to have that partnership. We're really lucky. May I join your conversation?
Yes.
They want a picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In response to Rebecca and her team's effort, the people in town started cooperating with housing and educational support for the FTP.
You guys happy?
Oh, yeah.
When you smile, makes me smile.
I see Rebecca do the different style. I know.
As soon as we knew that the cultural support team would be here, we decided right away that we would have a party because we want to celebrate that. Right? Our organization helps them, but we have to help them become independent. They have to do a lot on their own. And they face it so bravely. It's just so hard to not think of them as heroes. They're incredible people. I believe that.
Rebecca is also dedicated to creating opportunities for the FTP to work, ensuring that they can regain the pride in their lives again. On this day, Rebecca visited the City Hall in Arizona.
Hello.
How are
you. I didn't.
Good. How are you?
We're going to be back in town.
Yeah, you smell amazing.
The city of Tempe has supported the resettlement of nearly 10 FDP individuals so far.
You know, maybe there's additional support systems here locally that we could build upon and bring more FTPs here in the future. A lot of them are really seeking to develop new vocations.
To volunteer for this really elite and challenging special operations group that took on the most difficult missions so I think, you know, their track record is solid.
But to your point, is recognizing that the skills and perhaps your experience may not transfer to exactly the job classification that we have in the city. It may not fit exactly this job description and what we have available, but can you create an apprenticeship? Right? Or an internship?
You know, working for the city or opportunities there, I mean, that's huge, and that's what we're looking for.
They are making steady efforts joining forces with the supporters. Among the former soldiers of the FDP, there are women who fled to the United States with the young children. She is Shima raising a 3-year-old son, Amir.
برای خرید چیزی که مشکل داشتم به خاطر که زبانم خیلی قیمت شده گفتم که چطور اینقدر قیمت شده باز گفته.
Shima participated in the FDP for 6 years. Her husband Tarib was also a soldier in the National Army.
But he was killed by the Taliban in Takhar. I was pregnant. My son was 2 months, and we are together just 16 days, and we are married just 3 months and a half. من واقعا شبر خدا خیلی دوست داشتم.
After the withdrawal of the US military, Shima, feeling lost with her young son, was helped by Rebecca and others. In August 2021, she escaped to the United States with her son. Shima entered the country on a temporary humanitarian parole. Its duration is 2 years. People directly employed by the US military, such as interpreters, are granted special migrant visas. However, FDP does not qualify for this because they served in the Afghan National Army. Of the 88,000 people displaced from Afghanistan since the withdrawal of US troops, more than 70,000 people have entered the country under this temporary parole. Shima's residency status expires in August this year. She was finally going to find a job, but this residency status was a major problem.
حالا فقط 2 ماه یا 3 ماه دیگه باقی مانده که کار ما، آیدی کارت ما، همه چیز ما از این تاریخش خلاص شود. نه بچه‌م نه خودیم هیچ کدام ما رفتن نمیتونیم در افغانستان، چون این هم مادرش نظامی هم پدرش هم تنها مشکلات بزرگی که هست ما ما هنوز از به سرنوشتی ما را نکشیدن و کسی ما هنوز قبول نشده، اینجا اپروف نشده.
مادرم یک مادر پیر مریض، یک مادری که در روی تخت افتاده، خب درد ما خیلی زیاد است. چی بگوییم؟ از درد خود، از درد فامیل خود، از درد وطن خود، از درد
Rebecca has high hopes that new legislation will be passed to ensure that former FTP soldiers will have the same qualification as interpreters and others. If the Afghan Adjustment Act is passed, these women will have the possibility of bringing their families back.
You know, they protected human lives, they helped us to achieve missions, they risked their lives, they risked their families' lives. To know that they aren't qualified in the same manner to receive the same token of appreciation and respect that our interpreters do, I can't really put a word on that, but it's very hard to accept.
In late April, Rebecca took action. Former women soldiers from all over the USA gathered in Washington. They wished to appeal to the legislators regarding the hardship faced by the former FTP soldiers and the necessity for the bill to be passed.
Yeah. But what are you expecting? Exciting, yeah. Running late, but feeling good.
Aziz also took a bus of more than 5 hours to get to Washington.
I hope your status as senator. I want to share my problem about my family, about asylum.
Hey guys, we're going.
All right. Hugging and kissing.
On this day, about 40 former FTP soldiers and veterans met with more than 10 legislators. Avina expressed her desire for the bill to be passed and highlighting the perspective of former women soldiers.
I hope the U.S. government they help the FTPs because we risk our life and we fight side by side of U.S. forces and we help them and
یک کار نمیکنن و هیچ کس در فکر از این نبودن که ما یک وقتی کل ما در افغانستان یک جای کار میکردیم. این بخی سخت‌ترین مشکل در افغانستان بر خانم‌ها این بود که ما باید امرای امریکا کار نمیکردیم. مادام دوستای دیگه ما که FTP در افغانستان مانده اونا سخت‌ترین روز را سپری میکنن. دمی جنگ طالبان جوانای زیاد را ما شهید دادیم و خانمایی هستن که هنوز شوهر ندارن. ما روحاً راحت هستیم. قلبای ما هنوزم گریان میکنه بر کسایی که در افغانستان مانده، بر خانمایی که در افغانستان مانده و کار کردن نمیتونن، کلشان در خانه هستن و با مشکلات گرسنگی هستن، با مشکلات هستن که
Shamin, an Afghan woman whom Mariah supported, worked as a delivery person for Uber after losing her job. She was nearing the date where she couldn't manage the rent and had to move out, but finding a new home wasn't as easy as she hoped.
I applied for an apartment. Again, they are asking for proof of income.
She is in the Air Force and lives at National Harbor. I was telling her about meeting you and how
Mariah reached out to her group members and searched for a new home for Shamin.
I'm so terrible with contacts on.
That's okay. Yeah, and she doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Like, I want her to know that, so it's no.
Mariah's efforts were bringing hopes to Shamin's job search.
So you have your interview today?
Yes.
Yep. I'm very excited for you. At 10:45?
Yes, 10:45.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Are you nervous?
A little.
Good, yeah.
On this day, Shamin is scheduled for a job interview.
I'm really appreciating your assistance as well. So the job, getting connected with the people, those things are really, really appreciated. And when I heard your story, when you described it, you went to Afghanistan, when you came back, how you missed them, that, oh, Lema, you're not alone. There are many other people that they think about Afghan people.
Yes, you're not alone.
I was thinking like, oh, they are not too much taking care of Afghan people. But so when I met you, when you described, and now you're saying that No One Left Behind is, the whole team is working on this.
Yeah.
And they're trying to bring people that their lives in danger. So now somehow I feel like, oh yes, you're not alone. That's so the family, yeah, still that's there, but at least I have new friends like you here, talk and share. By sharing, somehow I can lower the pain.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening.
Always, yeah. I mean, as sad as I feel that your parents aren't here yet, and I wish I could help that happen faster.
Sasha, a former female soldier residing in Arizona, invited Rebecca to join her in the mountains to share a scenic view.
This brings some good memories for me. Being with FTP, climbing the mountain, yeah. All girls are FTP. All right, we made it. So beautiful.
اینجا مثل چی گوی افغانستان ولی است این طرف مثلا گوی مزار شریفه.
Gives,
so beautiful.
So beautiful.
Like Afghanistan.
Yeah. It gives a good feeling to be up here where everything is quiet.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is natural.
Yeah, that's right. That's what's so beautiful about Afghanistan, yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for bringing me here.
You are welcome. واقعا ما احساس دارم که یعنی احساسی ناامنی میکنم بر از اونها، یعنی اونها در آرزو میکنم ای کاش یک روز ما دینمی ساحه، دینمی مکان و دینمی کوه ها همراه مادر ما باشیم.
In June, the US government declared its plan to prolong the humanitarian residency period for an additional 2 years. However, the road to permanent residency and the reunion of families for over 70,000 individuals who have fled is still closed.
I also feel very conflicted about the ones that are still there, and I feel a bit powerless that there's nothing much that I can do except keep advocating and keep reminding people that this is still an issue. You know, nothing can be done to change the past, and we can choose to work together to have a brighter future and have hope for the future. The meaning. I mean, I feel in a way that it's my life's purpose.
Afghanistan and American female soldiers whose lives have been profoundly affected by the deep scars left behind the war on terror. They are striving to live together by supporting each other despite the pain.